from the writers of Chernobyl and The Last of Us and the director of Minions, and that's two great tastes that go great together, in The Sheep Detectives. This is a film that I saw a trailer for and I said, this looks stupid. I'm not going to see this. And then I found myself in a situation where I had time to kill and I said, you know what? Sheep Detectives it is. And, it's a very watchable film. Sheep Detectives is very entertaining. It is very pleasant. It is touching. It is funny. And I would totally be up for more sheep detecting. We'll get back to that later. So basic deal goes something like this. Not going to tell you the whole story. There is a shepherd, a farmer, a shepherd in the form of Hugh Jackman, who lives in a rural area of England, and he has beefs with various people in his little village, but for the most part, he lives in an airstream on his property with his flock of sheep. Every night he reads murder mystery stories to them before bedtime, and the sheeps enjoy it. How do we know this? Because the sheeps talk. They don't talk to people. As far as people are concerned, if we see a sheep talking to each other, they're sheeps with lips that match, and they're talking in English, be it with American or British accents or Australian accents. And when they cut to a person looking at the sheep, you just see bleh. So people don't talk to the sheep, but the sheep understand what the people are saying, and the sheep understand what each other are saying. And I think you get it by now. So it's very entertaining. It's very fun. It has a known cast in front of and behind the camera. Obviously, Hugh Jackman is in there. You had Emma Thompson in the film. You have the voices of Patrick Stewart, Regina Hall, Chris O'Dowd, Bella Ramsey, Rhys Darby, Bryan Cranston, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, and more. You get it's a very well shot film. Not like, I'll remember those shots forever. It's just, I've talked about this before. I watch a lot of films that are foreign films and old films and subtitled films and all this other stuff that require a bit of effort to follow it and stay connected. And this is one of those mainstream, family-friendly, normal people movies that you just sit back and it just entertains you. And that's refreshing. So The Sheep Detectives, the story is you have this farmer, you have the sheep, they love the mystery stories. Then, and this is not as much of a spoiler because it's what the movie is about, then the farmer turns up dead one morning and the sheep are devastated and they determine that the police don't know what's going on and the sheep are going to be the titular sheep detectives because they've heard so many mystery stories and they know the structure and cliches of said murder mystery stories. They're going to apply that to the real world and try to find out who offed the farmers. So, again, very whimsical, very pleasant. They are CGI sheep for the most part. You get the various characters. The voice acting, yes, they are done by celebrities, but for the most part, you don't realize they're the celebrities. Like, I never understand films' seeming belief that you have to cast famous people as the voices in cartoons and things, because for generations we didn't. The voices were whoever the character was that you heard. It wasn't, there were famous people in them, but it wasn't like it became where it's just like an all-star cast and there's always like a pop star and a rapper in there and a comedian in there and all that stuff whose voice is so distinct that you don't think you're listening to the character and watching the character. You're thinking, oh, that's John Cleese. I'm listening to John Cleese right now. So this has those celebrity voices, and eventually I realized, oh, that's Julie Louis-Dreyfus. Oh, that's Bryan Cranston. But even then, it kind of takes me out of it a little bit. Nothing against those people. They're really quite good. But the idea of celebrity voice casting is always in a cartoon or animated or anthropomorphic sheep or whatever you want to call it is always marginally distracting to me. Not necessarily a bad comment. It doesn't really bother anybody but me. I think about this stuff way too much, so as you already know. So Sheep Detectives, yeah, it's very entertaining, very funny, nice little slice of England, and good performances across the board. Interestingly, we do have an American actor playing a British person, which is the opposite of what we get in 99.9% of films, which I thought was interesting. But you also do get an Australian playing a Briton. So whatever, maybe I'm just crazy and obsessed with these things. So I said at the end of the film, that was really pleasant. That was fun. It was light. It's a comedy. It's goofy. This would be a great film to have a sequel to, and I'm not saying I want to see somebody else die in this town. Maybe there's a heist, maybe there's a robbery, and the sheep detectives are somehow enlisted to help figure out who did something, but it's a charming idea. It's a very charming cast. They're very charming sheep, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of the Sheep Detectives.